All right, so here I am in my office getting ready to go on the Entrepreneurs Growth Conference in Atlanta. My flight leaves at about 6 o'clock and it is about 10:30 right now, so I got a few more hours before I head out. And I'm excited, and this is something new. I have not done this before. I'm hoping that it's a good experience. I'm hoping there's a good learning that takes place both for myself as well as the students. And so we'll see how this goes, but this is the beginning of the journey, and we'll see what happens at the very end. Currently at the Rochester Airport getting ready to take off.
Zone 6, welcome aboard. Zone 6, schools 1 through 6.
That is my zone.
Whenever you have these zones, you're able to board together at this time.
So in about another 2 hours, we'll be touching down in Atlanta, hoping to get a couple hours of snooze time, some rest. It's been a long day, but I'm excited to get to Atlanta, to get settled in, to get ready for tomorrow. So I'll see you in Atlanta.
They all decided I need to go to Harvard Business School. I'd never read a balance sheet or P&L. I thought you had to be a genius to build some company or go to Stanford or go to Harvard. And so I went up to Harvard Business School and had lunch, as I recall, with about 11 associate professors. They'd never heard of Kentucky Fried Chicken. So I tell them about how we have this, we put chicken in a bucket, a box, it's cash, and have these little take-homes, and it's a franchise. And after about 20 minutes, when I'm asking them, Mr. Brown, how are your sales? And I said, well, we're going about 3 million to a little over 100 million. One of the professor, as they do, they'll frown and say, well, what about your profits? Thinking I must be in trouble, I wouldn't be there. And I said, well, we're going about 300,000 to a little over 10 million pre-tax. And the host just smiled at me and said, Mr. Brown, you just go on back and don't let us confuse you.
Mr. Brown is the co-founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken and is a serial entrepreneur that has started many companies. And he has some really key takeaways that I'd love to share with you. For example, one of the key things is that you have to make a profit in business. This is what it's about. You have to make a profit. Passion is great. You need passion. But at the end of the day, business is about making profit. And he kind of left us on this note of providing 3 primary traits of what he considered to be very successful entrepreneurs. 1, confidence. 2, credibility. And 3, desire. He says if you have those 3 things, confidence, credibility, and desire, that you'll go a long way. So it was a very informative opening keynote address. Now it's time for the first seminar. I'm on to a seminar called How to Build a Selling System in Your Company. And supposedly from this seminar, we're going to learn the little known essentials to sales success and how to establish them in our companies.
That you have to find or create a need. People are not buying things because they like you. Oh, they buy because they like you, but they buy because they perceive a want or a need from the product or service that you're selling. It's just that simple. You have to be brought to a point of decision. Because without bringing people to a point of decision, you have not had a sales process. What you've had is a conversation, a visit, something. You figure it out, but it isn't the sales process. Two quick stories.
So Mr. Black pretty much presented not so much a system per se, but just some overall thoughts based upon his experience, many years of experience in selling. And some of the words of wisdom that I picked up from the session had to do with three things he thought were absolutely critical for a successful sales system. One, he said you needed to be enthusiastic. Two, he said you needed to create a need, and then make sure you have a way to fill that need. And then the third thing he said is always be trying to bring people to the point of a decision. If you're not bringing people to a point of decision, then basically your discussions with people are just that, discussions and conversations, and you're not actually trying to sell them. But I think the biggest takeaway I had from the how to build a selling system in your company is what Mr. Black really kind of touched on, which is nothing in the world takes the place of persistence. And if you're trying to increase your sales and have a winning sales system in your company, persistence and the law of averages, as he talks about. He says if you know that you have to contact so many potential customers in order to close so many accounts, the law of averages would say that if you want to increase your sales and increase your chances of closing, that you need to contact even more potential customers in order to reach those numbers. And I'll take a quote that he provided. He says, if the ability to do hard work isn't a talent, it's the next best substitute. So it was a good session. So now we're on to our next session, which is pertaining to building your brand and building your business, and I look forward to seeing what tidbits of information I'm able to get from that.
A brand is not a product. We all love our iPhones, but that is not a brand. A brand is not a slogan, and it's not an ad. Most importantly, it is not a company. A brand is a promise. Brands promise something to consumers. They set expectations, and then they deliver on those expectations in every single customer interaction.
Takeaway from Build Your Brand, Build Your Business was this concept of brand perceptions and getting a snapshot of brand perceptions. And Sue, who was the presenter for the conference, talked about going through this exercise. Try to identify 5 words that you would use to describe your brand, the way you think of your brand with your company. Then try to think of, or ask your customers for 5 words that they would use to describe the brand. And then the last step in the exercise is to try to come up with 5 words that you actually want your customers to be saying about you and your brand. I guess if it's a good snapshot, if it's a good exercise, if your branding is right on point, my impression would be that all 3 of those elements are going to come together. What you say your brand is for your company, what your customers say, and what you want that to be. But that was a good takeaway, so it was actually a pretty decent session.
So for those of you raising, say, $100,000, you're raising it from 4 or 5 people in smaller chunks of 20 to 25. Will create a different dynamic for you as a person, as an entrepreneur, with your investors, than raising it from one person for $100,000. And that lesson is true even if you're raising $500,000 or even more. But the venture guys might want you to educate them. At the end of the day, you're really selling. I mean, you're up there and you're a marketer, and they want to see that. When you're pitching your friends and family, they know your character probably already pretty well. What you want to do is educate them about why you think your business opportunity is a good opportunity, why you want to do it, why you want to do it for your life and for your business. And explain to them.
So the last session that I attended today was entitled How to Raise Money for Your Business. It was actually a pretty good session. The individual that actually put it on his name was Ashish Avani. He's an investor of many companies, and he gave some really good advice about when you're asking for people that might be interested in investing in your business, don't just go and say, hey, do you know anybody who might be interested in investing? Maybe you say to people within your network, do you know of anybody who might be interested in learning more about my business? I actually thought that was some pretty good advice to someone who's into this area of trying to look for some investment from what he called hobby angels. So that concludes this experience of the Entrepreneur Magazine 2011 Growth Conference. It was a fantastic experience. I felt like I learned a lot. Hopefully I was able to share a lot with you as well too. And overall it was a long day, but definitely well worth the trip, well worth the time, and I look forward to attending next year's conference. Bye.